everybody. This is Vince Miller. Thank you so much for joining me for another devotional. Now, before we dig into our text today, I just want to tell some of you guys thank you. Thank you to those men out there who use these devotionals to either mentor, disciple, or lead groups of men. I know many of you already know this, but below every devotional are a few reflection and discussion questions. I mean, all you got to do to really disciple another man with this content is share the video with them and then have a little discussion that goes with it. I know some of you that use this in your weekly group meetings. This is great discipleship, getting men into the Word, getting them thinking about it, and moving men to action. So thank you. So if you're out there using my devos that way, would you just let me know? I'll give a little shout out to you as well. So today we're going to be in John chapter 11. I'm going to read verse 17. Here's what it states. It says, "Now when Jesus came," that's back to Bethany, "he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days." So here's what's happening here. Jesus and his disciples were out at the Jordan River, close to the desert. They were taking a reprieve from the escalating violence in Jerusalem. They decide to return to be with Lazarus because they found out that Lazarus was dead. And of course, Jesus knew this beforehand because he was sick. So they returned to Bethany, which is just a couple of miles outside of Jerusalem. So this puts them back in harm's way. But they returned to Bethany to discover that Lazarus actually has been dead a while. 4 days is pretty significant. It's strong evidence that Lazarus is really dead. Right? In fact, I read one commentary that said some Jewish rabbis believed that the soul remained near or hovered over the body for 3 days, but after that, there was no hope for the restoration of life or the soul. And guess what? There's no doubt that Jesus actually knew this fact because remember, he was a Jewish rabbi as well. So I think Jesus is up to something here. He's intentionally waited 4 days. So up to this point, remember, Jesus has performed some pretty amazing miracles as we've journeyed through John. His first one was changing the chemical makeup of water to wine. Next, he reverses an illness that's going to take a boy's life and he gives him life. Right after this, a man born lame who has literally never walked in his life is given new muscle and nerve endings and stands up to walk again. Next, a hungry crowd of around 5,000 people, probably more like 20,000 people, is satisfied with a very small serving of miraculously multiplied food. All right. Then next, Jesus walks on the surface of water, showing his power over the elements. Then this is the one that causes all the problems for him. Then a man who was blind, who has never seen, sees again. He's given sight. Jesus takes one of the more complex pieces of the human body and restores it completely so he can see. But what happens in this story right here, what we're going to read next, this is a bona fide, indisputable miracle of God. It's both restoring a man biologically who's actually dead, but it's also the returning of his soul to his body and in perfect condition, by the way. Now, keep in mind, fellas, when someone dies even today, after a few minutes, irreversible damage is done to the body and the brain. I mean, we all know this. Brain cells begin to die within about 4 to 6 minutes after death. After 10 minutes, significant damage is done to the body. And I know there have been a few super rare cases where someone who has been dead has been brought back to life after about 30 minutes using some advanced technology. But no one, even today, has ever brought someone back to life who's been dead 4 days. That is until Jesus, of course. And here's what we learn from this. We learn that Jesus is not just some purveyor of magic tricks or sleights of hand that anybody else could do. He's not a man who walked the earth doing things that we tried to do, but couldn't do. And he came just doing them better than we did. He's far more than that. He has shown us through the Gospel of John that he has the power to control the elements of life. But right here in this miracle that we're about to read together, he also shows us that he retains power over life itself by his ability to give life to someone who is clinically, biologically, and literally and spiritually dead. I mean, literally dead. Therefore, you know what this means? Jesus is the source of life. He is the resurrection and the life. That's it. He's the source of it. He's not just doing it. He is it. So fellas, if you're looking for new life,